Okay, well, I've got 5 minutes after 7 o'clock, and I am going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. Those of you who have been paying close attention to our prior meetings might note that I've got a little bit different background than usual. I'm doing this from my office this evening as opposed to my home. But fear not, even though I am in a different venue, I still have a bell. So I can still ring a bell in order to call this meeting of Rotary District 6460 to order. Yes, I have not just one Rotary bell in my possession. I have multiple Rotary bells because these sorts of things just pile up after a few years. But I'd like to thank everybody for joining us, and I am going to take our stated agenda, I think, a little bit out of order. We're supposed to have a couple of gentlemen here to join us to talk a little bit about some volunteer opportunities in light of COVID-19. I am not seeing them in the room as of yet, though. So I'm going to swing over to a couple of folks who we're going to be talking a little bit later in the meeting about some updates to our district programs. And one of them, who I will unmute right now, is immediate past District Governor Brian Barstead, who is also your District Rotary Foundation Chair. I think Brian wanted to talk a little bit about the Rotary Foundation and give an update about the foundation in our district. Brian?
Yeah, thanks. Just a couple things. I'm going to be preparing a webinar shortly. I've got it, it's pretty much done. And I'm trying to figure out if it would be wise to do it live for those who would want to attend on a specific time, and then we could record it. Then we could save it on the website for people who would want to watch it at their own pace, so that people who want to qualify for or understand the district grants program better can do it this way, as opposed to having to attend a district assembly, which we don't have access to this year. It's ready to go, and I just need to work it out with Brian as far as what day we'll do that. And I would guess something like that would probably take more time than a normal Zoom meeting, but I think we could probably knock it out in about an hour. And then I'm going to put together some form of a attendance thing so that we can verify who attends, and then we can put them on the roster of people who are qualified to help their clubs. But this year I didn't make that a qualification requirement, so any clubs who have somebody in their own group who've been through grants training before, I figured they would be able to help steward their clubs through that process. Just a reminder, we're only going to have probably a total of about $40,000, maybe 42, to give away for grants this year. So I think we'll probably have to go back to a smaller grant maximum. Last year we had a bigger grant maximum, and it was so enticing that we had so many clubs apply for it that none of them got the maximum anyway. So I think we'll go back to something more like we've done in the past, so that more clubs have an opportunity to apply and qualify. I haven't seen an updated total for the month of April yet. I think we were about 10% below year to date on annual fund giving the last time I checked, which was at the end of March. I put forth a $500 points match for any person who's never given money to the Rotary Foundation before. If they give $500 between now and the end of the year, we'll make them an instant Paul Harris Fellow by using matching. And I'm waiting to see the results of that. I did have one individual who was a brand new member, just joined in October, who is stepping up and is going to give us $500 towards the disaster recovery portion of the district or the Rotary Foundation initiatives. So that individual will be a Paul Harris Fellow instantly. And I hope we'll have some more folks that'll take advantage of that. So please remind your clubs in any way you can on your own club Zoom meetings or whatever. Just remind them we've got about, 7 weeks to go, Mara? Is that how many weeks there are until you're the governor, next governor? We have a handful of weeks left, and any contributions that we make to the annual fund will come back to the district 3 years from now and give us lots of money for grants. And also there's other ways to support what the foundation's up to. So I think that's about all I have for today. Ryan, back to you.
Thank you very much, sir. And just so everybody's clear, the webinar Brian was talking about, that is going to be in lieu of the grant certification training that we would typically do at District Assembly. And there are individuals in your clubs who will be required to go through that training. Typically, if you're going to qualify to receive either club grants or global grants, if you're going to participate in any of those projects, those individuals being your current sitting president for 1920, your incoming president for 2021, and your club foundation chair, I believe, if that number, if the number of your members is over 20. So we're going to work on that. Keep an eye on your inboxes for a date, and it is important that you do go ahead and complete that if you want to participate in those grants for the coming year. I am now going to kick things over to District Governor-elect Maura Donnelly. Maura, do you have anything to say to the fine folks of District 6460?
You just love to put me on the spot, don't you?
Absolutely.
That's what I get for working while we're having a meeting. Just that our governor line, Ryan, myself, our current governor, Mark Roberts, is he on?
I haven't seen Mark pop on yet, no.
And our governor nominee designee, Bill Durrell, have been meeting. We've been getting some information from Rotary International. Oh, there he is. Hi, Bill. Getting some information from Rotary International that we're trying to put into a nice message to send out to everybody about their recommendations for meeting. So we'll have that. I'm drafting it, and everybody's going to review it this weekend. So look for next week to get some information about what RI is recommending in regards to several issues that the district has met on. So, but if anybody has any questions, I will be working up district assembly topics. I know we're going to really revise them to be more current than some of the stuff that I had planned originally. Perhaps I'd like to get a poll sent out to find out how many clubs are actually meeting virtually or if they're doing something else, so that we can understand what tools we can provide to you to help get your membership charged up and hopefully still grow through this time. I know we don't have a lot of service going on. So I see some great projects going on certain Facebook pages, but I'm not friends with everybody's Facebook page. So I'll try to look that up in the next couple of weeks. If you've got a Facebook page and you see me out there on Facebook not liking stuff, if you want to invite me to like your page, I'd love to see what you have going on. And that's what I got for now. Thanks.
Okay, very good. So topics for a virtual district assembly. If you have any feedback or any ideas of things that you might want to see covered there, please go ahead and contact her. And actually, this was apropos. I just saw a message pop up in our text chat, which relates to the next topic that I was going to cover. Audrey, who I believe is from Peoria, has posted a reminder about our district scholarship program. I know that it's probably easy for some folks to forget about scholarships in light of everything else that's going on in the world, but our district does have a college scholarship program, and that is currently open for applications, and this is something that you can promote in both your clubs and your communities. They are $3,000 scholarships, and they're a little bit interesting in that they are geared specifically towards undergraduates who have completed at least 24 credit hours in their programs. So, you know, you can probably see out there a lot of scholarships that are geared towards college freshmen that don't repeat, but this is a scholarship that we've decided to give to folks who are a little bit further along and have shown they can hack it. Their degree does have to relate to one of Rotary International's 6 areas of focus, and they do have to have a minimum 2.5 grade point average. There are some other requirements as well, perhaps the most notable of them being that they cannot be a current Rotarian or honorary Rotarian, nor may they be a spouse or a lineal descendant of a Rotarian. And I believe these scholarships as well are open to individuals who are either residents of, they are from Rotary District 6460, or they are attending a school that is located in Rotary District 6460. Full requirements for the tongue slip there. Full requirements for the scholarships can be found online at the District 6460 website, which is rotarydistrict6460.org. And perhaps most importantly, the deadline for those scholarship applications is going to be May 31st, i.e. the very last day of this month. So if you, again, are aware of good folks to put this information out to so they can spread the word, go ahead and please do that. I've gotten a message from Jim DiTullio, who asks, can the student who applies be in Rotaract? And my understanding is that yes, Rotaractors are eligible to apply for the scholarships, just so long, again, as they are not a relation to a Rotarian. I have seen a couple of important names hop online here within the last couple of minutes, and I'm going to go ahead and unmute them. We are being joined this evening by Scott Dahl and David Cochran. Scott and David, I believe, are both members of the Rotary Club of Alpharetta, Georgia, and we had invited them here this evening to talk about Volunteer Surge, which is a project, as I understand it, to provide some volunteer opportunities in the wake of COVID-19. Scott and David, can you both hear me? You all connected real good?
Yes, can hear you fine.
Okay, thank you. Welcome to Rotary District 6460, covering Western Illinois. And if you guys are ready to go and talk to us, feel free to take the floor. You're both unmuted. And should you desire to do so, you should be able to share your screens with us by clicking the normal button here at the bottom of the Zoom interface.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for having us on this evening and taking a little bit of time to talk about the Global Impact Group, our nonprofit that was developed or put together by Rotarians for Rotarian causes, and Volunteer Surge, and to tell you a little bit about what we've been working on pretty furiously over the last 6 weeks. So it's been quite the whirlwind, particularly when you're working with a group that's bi-coastal. So David and I on the East Coast here start our day probably about 7:30, and I think our last call tonight will be around dinner California time, so about time for us to go to bed. So it's been quite a whirlwind of activity. I think David just asked if he could be unmuted again.
Yeah, I am. Oh, there it goes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great. There he is.
I was
David and I have known each other for
ears,
about,
so.
I've known Dave for about 20 years. So Ryan, I'll let you know when to mute him again, or he might let you know when to mute me. So,
okay.
But we'd like to start. Let me talk about real quick before David shares this video of Dr. Stan Vermund of the Yale School of Public Health. The Global Impact Group was developed really out of an idea of creating an organization that could bring advanced technology to profits and nonprofits to advance humanitarian issues and create social impact for causes and issues that affect really our world. And we do that through Rotary causes as well, specifically. You may have heard of the Global Impact Group as VR for SI, and that is virtual reality for social impact. You're aware that Rotary has 4 different virtual reality films, and we are working alongside Rotary International to help make that technology viewable and available to Rotarians across the world. So that really, VR, AI, artificial intelligence, MR, mixed reality, and augmented reality are technology platforms that we hope really can help advance some of our work within Rotary and beyond. Now, how do we get involved with volunteer surge? There have been times when we've asked ourselves that question. Our chairman, Jim Margraff, is a serial entrepreneur out of Silicon Valley. And Jim is best known for bringing things to the world such as the Leapfrog Leap Pad, if you remember that, working with your kids or even presently, the Light Scribe pen, and several other identifiable businesses, of one of which he most recently sold to Google. So Jim has worked with us on bringing these technologies forward, but he received a call about 7-8 weeks ago from a former colleague from Leapfrog that has worked on bringing to the American Red Cross a certified nurse's assistant training, an online course. And he approached Jim by saying, I know you're a part of Rotary, and Rotary is well connected throughout this country. And this country needs this sort of training and more in this crisis. Would you be willing to engage Rotary so that we can help recruit and train volunteers to help with this COVID crisis now and into the future? And Jim came back to our group and we agreed. This is something we'd like to be involved in. So before we go any further with that, why don't we go ahead and listen to Dr. Sten Vermund. He is Dean of the School of Public Health for Yale University.
Super. This is just a sound check. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Very good. So this was on MSNBC as well. Here we go.
Hi, my name is Sten Vermund. I am a pediatrician and infectious disease epidemiologist, and I serve as the Dean of the Yale School of Public Health. We've been working with Volunteer Surge in training community health workers who can be assisting in this response to the coronavirus pandemic. And another need has emerged, namely that of tele-support. The notion that with a phone call or an internet contact, one can reach out to people who are physically isolated. We're thinking of the elderly, but there are also people with special needs. There may be beleaguered individuals with financial challenges, food insecurity, and the like. So we are going to be launching this training program to recruit volunteers in telesupport, and we're so pleased to have the interest of Rotarians. There are 1/3 Rotarians in clubs and districts in North America alone, and they are ready to be mobilized. Rotary members are very experienced in community mobilization. I worked with them over the years in global eradication of polio, in which Rotarians were immensely influential in reducing the polio problem in the world. So instead of 100 countries that are endemic for polio, today we only have 2. Instead of hundreds of thousands of cases, now we have cases that are only in the dozens. And we're really seeing the prospect of eradicating polio from the face of the earth. This was one of the largest public-private partnerships that had ever been done in the field of global health. The Rotary Club couldn't be a better partner for us. Rotarians of all ages, from 18 to senior citizens, can get involved, and there are also clubs for younger Rotarians, the Rotoractors and the Interactors, and we're looking for opportunities for them to get engaged as well. So Yale School of Public Health is very pleased to be working closely with Rotarians in North America to try to do what we can to mitigate the social isolation of people who are now physically isolated in the middle of this coronavirus pandemic. Thank you.
Volunteer Surge, which recently announced the launch of a new initiative to recruit, train, and deploy 1 million volunteer health workers to address surging healthcare needs during the COVID-19 epidemic.
Okay.
Wonderful. Well, you know, when you're lined up with an individual like that from an institution like Yale, you feel pretty well supported for sure. David, you might have the Global Impact Group website up on your browser to share. So the question we get is, well, how do I learn more about this program? And this the Global Impact Group website, which we put up, gosh, a lot of this was done within 36 hours of initiation, and we have been adding to it and supplementing it most every day in one way or another. This is a place where Rotarians specifically can go to learn more about the program. And so I think you'll find some terrific resources on this page. You can learn more about what our group is doing. But if we go down that website page, that web page further,
Let me just go
resources.
Scott.
David, I'm going to let you take it from here to describe what's available.
All right. So tgig.org, theglobalImpactGroup.org. The reason we have this page is, as Scott said, this didn't exist 6 weeks ago, but this is a place where Rotarians, members of Rotary, can go and get connected very quickly into Volunteer Surge. How does that work? So first of all, went to the home page. Under Volunteer Surge, there's a resources page, wealth of resources there. This is a simple flow chart, and I'm going to try to expedite through it. If you have any questions, please, we'll be here for questions. But basically, as Rotarians or friends of Rotary, this is open to everybody. And if you have friends, we would love for you to tell them, please sign in as a friend of Rotary when you come in. So you go to our website, you click on Take Action. It takes you into the Volunteer Surge program site. In that site, you will have one of 3 courses, and I'll show you those courses in just a minute. There is a telesupport course that Dr. Vermund was speaking on mainly, but there's also a full-fledged community health worker course that's based on the Certified Nurse Assistance course. And there is a provision for those people who already have healthcare experience, and I'll explain that in a moment. But you go in, you sign up for the training you want to take. After your training, you will go into an engine that will match you. You will establish your profile for what you want to do. And then as opportunities are available, they will be presented to you and you will have the option to participate. Some will have expenses paid for. Some do involve travel. Most of our volunteers are not planning to do that. I just point that out because these are frequently asked questions. Why is the site set up that way? And we'll talk more about that later. So after you're in, the volunteer opportunities will be presented to you. We're at the very beginning of these opportunities being loaded in, and there is a logic behind that. We wanted to have a pool of volunteers ahead of an overburdened healthcare system. That is not true everywhere. We know in New York City, we're already deploying people into 11 emergency rooms that the city manages. We should have 50 more assigned or in process this time tomorrow, and there's another 200 lined up. But for the most part, we're ahead of this across our country. But we want to get the pool of volunteers in. We will start presenting you opportunities. When I say we, the whole collective team. And the goal, it was a lofty goal. Let's get 1 million volunteers signed up for now and for the future so that we're not in this position again. So Scott, I'll pull up the 3 trainings. And again, I'm on the resource page and you can see it loads pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. So folks, I'll start at the bottom and go up. If you are a retired healthcare professional or if you are an acting healthcare professional, you can go in and in 1 to 2 hours, we need folks to go through this and we'll probably get a liability question, but there's a reason we're doing this, right? So if you're a healthcare professional, current or past, you need to go through and have a 2-hour orientation course, and then you'll go right into filling in your profile in the work market matching engine. If you want to become a community health worker, this has 2 valuable benefits, if you will. One is it is the CNA course. So if you have aspirations to explore that type of a career, you will be 70–80% complete with most states' requirements because it is the American Red Cross CNA program. Also, there are a lot, we were surprised how many Rotarians want to don their protective gear and go out into the field. This is the course for you if that's what you want to do. My daughter and I are taking it. It's taking us a little longer than the 30 to 35 hours, but we're finding some of our people with action literally get in and do this course in 2 to 3 days because they're passionate about it. But the main difference here is it's a thorough course. We had a lady on the last call who said, I know now why I didn't become a nurse. It's got some graphic scenes in it, but again, it's to prepare you. The top course is the telesupport course. It is slated to be 8 to 10 hours. We have some people that complete it in under that. We have people who say it takes twice that long. A lot of it depends on your ability to sit down and take the course, but I do want to note that this course is under continual improvement. We basically had the Red Cross CNA course, and we basically pulled it apart to create a shortened teleworker or telesupport course. This is being enhanced with videos to make it more fluid. It's being enhanced with examples of phone calls. So it's becoming much more than just a cutout of this community health worker course. And we do believe that it'll be under continued improvement for the next short while. So that's what the courses are. And then, as I've said, you'll get a congratulations letter, email, and then you'll be placed into the queue to fill out your profile. And then opportunities should start flowing our way. Thank you.
We can probably facilitate a good bit of the rest of this with some questions. I will say that, and David alluded to it, that the demand side is forming. We've been dealing with this COVID crisis in different hotspots around our country. And some of our healthcare systems have been overburdened. Some are actually laying people off because they cannot conduct elective surgeries, as an example. I know here in Atlanta, the Georgia region, we've not peaked yet. And we do suspect that there will be successive waves of infection. And so we're in this for the long haul. The telesupport course, as David said, is continually under augmentation, I would say, to make it more relevant toward what we would expect, toward what I would expect to do as a telesupport worker, and to be less CNA oriented. And so just know that the course that you take today is different from those who completed it 2 weeks ago, and will be a bit different from those who might complete it in the next month. So the idea is to create a reserve of volunteers, Rotarians and friends, who are prepared to serve the COVID crisis now and future crises within our country. And so it's something we can do within our own local communities. It's something that we may need to do in the future for other crises. I know in Florida, they're looking at this as an opportunity to really arm Rotarians on how to do check-in calls and be engaged when they have their natural disasters, in that state. So there are a variety of uses for this. Love to take some questions.
Yeah, shall I click through while questions are queuing?
Sure.
I didn't have my password on the last call correct, so I fixed that. So again, on the TGIG site, if you're ready to go, you hit take action. It takes you to the volunteer. This is live. These aren't pre-recorded. Takes you to the volunteer search site. You can start here. And when you properly put in your password and user ID, you will get over to this site. And you can see that's me in here. And I have started working on the community health worker. And there's your telesupport worker and your health professionals. So it's this part is up and working, and I will say that from what we worked on this week, the work market engine will give you a good user experience for those people who are just going into it. Okay, we've got a question, Scott, in the chat.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Let me go down.
I can answer that one. For telesupport volunteers, what sort of institutional supports are available when questions come up from volunteers? So I'm working on the New York City virtual call center right now, and there are 3 roles that, in fact, new roles that will be posted tomorrow about this time. One is your telesupport worker. That's any of us right here. A lot of the calls might be to folks who unfortunately are exhibiting signs of COVID and they can't be accepted, and they're told to go home, and they're given some equipment, and they're told if you have a temperature of over 103 and your blood oxygen level is below this for 2 days, then come back. Well, we don't want them just sitting at home. So any of us could call and check on those people. This is just an example. If you call and you find that, ooh, things don't sound so well, I'm not trained, you will be in a queue where there will be support ready for you. And the average time to answer for that is less than 30 seconds. And then there's a first-tier medical support also. So supervisor first, medical support second. Some of these will be different, but that was the specification that the New York City Virtual Call Center wanted to put in place. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, it's really, the training's designed for very broad variety of volunteer interactions. I may not be as comfortable with that. It may be that I want to be engaged in something where I'm just checking in with seniors who can't get in for their typical appointments. And there's a lot of that's going on. Those with abilities and cognitive disabilities face the same challenges. And so to be on that list where I simply make a phone call and engage with them, those seniors who are isolated and are suffering from that, that's also what we expect a lot of this work to be engaged in. Did not catch a price. Is there a price to pay? Is there an age limit? This is entirely free. And it's not a bad deal if you're 18 or 20 years old and you're looking at a very entry-level healthcare position. Through this program, you can take this CNA training at no cost. The American Red Cross website does charge for that. The CNA training, that's the 30 to 35 hour course, covers 70 to 80% of what the requirements for your state would have for the CNA training. But there are additional testing requirements. It just depends on the individual state. But there's no charge whatsoever for it. You do need to be 18 years or older for it. But you can be, gosh, David, I think we talked to an late 80s individual who asked him, am I too old? And I said, well, not whatsoever. If you do any volunteering at all in your community and you are able to get on the phone and interact with folks, you can perform a service.
Well, we don't have a lot more to show, and we don't sing very well. But
well, and we won't be here all night either. However, no. I will say, and that's good for you all, this is something that, again, we've been working on for about 6 weeks. In between the East Coast and West Coast, we've been pouring a lot of time and energy into it, and to try to improve the volunteer experience for everyone who comes through. Those who complete the course or may have completed it, we're working also on a seamless connection between your course completion and entering into what's called a work cloud within WorkMarket. And so there were some additional steps that need to be taken for that. David's been very much involved in that work in the past several days. We're getting closer on that end and hope to have that. But just understand that as our country realizes how to engage volunteers in this, we will see more and more opportunities come available. And it's been a pleasure to be a group of Rotarians engaged in this and working with other Rotarians to make it possible.
So we do have one more question.
Oh, great.
So thank you. So do telesupport volunteers get any options for what geographic area they serve or what hours they serve? The answer is absolutely yes. Right now, Again, we're building the pool of volunteers, and it is happening. There are hundreds of trained volunteers right now. We will start presenting these call center opportunities in the tool. So people are getting some emails right now, and that should happen tomorrow evening. And then you would literally see, here's the New York Virtual Call Center. We know we're doing some work. I believe it's Baltimore, Scott, the state. And then you might get an invitation to travel as well. And you can always say no. So there's going to be a plethora of opportunities yet. So the door's open. And one other thing, Scott mentioned the CNA training. We do have capability within the site for those 18, 19, 20-year-olds to basically transition over and be a freelancer. And so that's actually going to be a crossover as we mature this capability that we'll be able to pay expenses as well as pay people for labor. But that's more to come on that.
Great. I think Nancy had a question. Have we considered partnering with the Corporation for National and Community Service? Senior Corps has a pool for volunteers who might be interested in something of this nature. Volunteers currently age 55 and up, but Congress is looking at lowering the Senior Corps age to 45. Interesting question. We have not interacted with that group yet. We had a follow-up meeting with the AARP this afternoon. They have endeavored to form a program called A Friendly Voice, which is similar, but they do not have the robust training that we have. And so we're working with AARP as a potential partner in this, and as well as a volunteer service platform within the VA for veterans. There are 9 million veterans that they connect with, and they need some check-in assistance as well. So Nancy, we will put this, I've already copied it into a document. We'll put this on our follow-up and take a look at that as well. So I think what we've got is something a bit unique, and that is that training program. If we can offer that to any group and integrate with them, we're an open book for that. Great offer.
Jim asked about the mental health care volunteer opportunities. So Jim, mental health is a topic on just about every call. Are we going to have specific mental health care opportunities? I can't answer that question. But as Scott was just talking about our call with AARP and our call tomorrow with VA, this is very much a big piece of it. And anybody who's read about the plight of our veterans in and out of the hospital, this is a huge component. So I can't say enough. Mental health is so important. I just can't say, will there be posting for mental health opportunities? It is embedded with at least the 2 opportunities I've been involved with, the New York City and the discussion already with VA and AARP. Scott, any more on that one?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we had a Rotarian out of Central Florida. Central Florida has been one of our early pilot sites, and he's a psychologist, and he said, this problem, because of the isolation and those that already suffer from isolation, is going to just be play havoc on people's mental health states, particularly those that are already prone. And that could be as big as the virus itself. So I think we're going to hear a lot more about that. Another thing we're going to hear a lot about is contact tracing. I'm certain you've seen it in the news. There are estimates that are very, very high with regard to the number of volunteers or folks that are maybe paid to participate in contact tracing. And that's coming up in our conversations as well. There is not a central national training or capacity around contact tracing. And so there is some opportunity there, I think, for us to become engaged in that as well. I mean, personally, I'd like to see a telesupport course as well as a contact tracing add-on to that that would allow any of us to be involved. Okay. Well, thank you for your comments. We really appreciate it, and it's been a pleasure to bring this forward. And what we're really hoping to do is that if whether or not you're interested in volunteering, I think the course provides great information for life. If you're working with aging relatives, it's going to be very relevant to you. Or if just interested in general health and life knowledge. So I would say it's worth your time to take the course and go through it. And just know, again, the course will continue to be refined, and we take all feedback very seriously, and it goes right back to those who create the course. So it's been a pleasure to be involved in this. Thank you.
Yes, thank you both for popping in on us this evening. And I do have both Scott and David's contact information. And I'm sure that if there are any follow-up questions, that if you think of those after they hop off the call tonight, I'm sure they wouldn't mind me sharing those email addresses. It looks like there's also a wealth of information on the website as well. So again, thank you very much both for your time this evening, as well as all the time you put into this project. Certainly a great opportunity, and one that we could take care of on an individual basis, or maybe we could even rally our clubs to support on a broader level.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Bye all.
Okay, so Scott and David have now just popped off, which leaves just those of us District 6460 Rotarians on the line. I've got a couple of more points to cover just about general district events, but before I dive into that, I will say that if anybody has any questions or comments for the good of the group, I will be throwing it open to those after I finish my remarks. So to the extent you've got anything you'd like to cover with us, please go ahead and either virtually raise your hand within Zoom or throw me a message in the text chat box, and I'll be sure to bring your comment to the fore, either by reading it or just unmuting you, whichever you prefer to do. So we do, just to recap quickly, we did have our foundation update from Brian Barstead. Please remember your contributions as we wind down the year over the course of the next 7 weeks, and he will have our grant training up as well. And then also Maura will be talking to you soon about some alternatives for district assembly and other training issues there. I did have one question from Zane, who is our Rotary Youth Exchange student in Brazil. And Audrey, I don't know if you know this, but you're sharing your screen with us right now. If you could exit that would be ideal. Zane's question to me was, are there any Rotary Youth Exchange updates? And for anybody who might not have heard, this was communicated directly to club leadership of the clubs that were affected. But our District Rotary Youth Exchange Committee in the last week or so, in consultation with our district governor line, did make what was a very difficult decision to suspend the district's Rotary Youth Exchange program for the 2020 to 2021 Rotary year. That was certainly not a decision that was made lightly by anybody involved, and it was certainly a very painful decision for everybody involved, because just about everybody who was on those calls has a real sincere love for that program. So that will not be going forward. We will not be bringing any students in or sending any students out for 20 or 21. As far as updates beyond that, which was Zane's question to me, I don't know that we really have much more to say, aside from the fact that I will say that if you would be interested in participating in the program in the following Rotary year, 2021 to 2022, normally your deadline for a club to put an application in to bring in a student would be at the end of June of 2020. That would be for a student who would arrive, August-ish of 2021. So that's something that you should all consider with your clubs. And if I recall correctly off the top of my head, and there are several youth exchange folks on the call who can correct me if I'm wrong, a preliminary application from a student who wants to go outbound is something that we would normally like to see. I believe it's before the end of September. And then there's a longer form application that would be due before the end of the year. And I'm glad to see on my video screen that Harold Waters, Mr. Youth Exchange himself from up in Galesburg, is nodding as I give those months out, which means I didn't botch them. So that's the latest on Youth Exchange from our end. I think I see Harold is trying to get my attention to maybe say something. Harold, you're unmuted.
Okay. There are 20 districts in Central States, and we are one of 6 in Central States so far that have suspended operations for next year. Ordinarily, our students would be put up for bids, so to speak, for rescue, which would cost our district maybe up to $5,000 for if another district would take our students that we had committed for earlier. However, we've had 23 trading partner districts over the world withdraw or suspend operation also. So there's a good chance that there won't have to be any students rescued from the ones that we had committed to. So at least I'm hopeful of that as far as from a financial standpoint.
Well, thank you for that comment, Harold. And for those of you who don't know Harold or don't know what he does in the youth exchange world, he is what I would say sort of one of our unsung heroes in the district. I don't think a lot of people realize the level at which he operates. He operates at a very high level at Central States Youth Exchange and does an excellent job for us and has for many years. So if you don't know Harold Waters, get to know Harold Waters. He's an interesting guy.
Thank you.
While we're on the subject, and since he asked a question, I'm going to put him on the spot. Currently sitting in Brazil, where he is still on his exchange, is Zane Phillips from Pike County, Illinois. Zane, how are things going down there?
Things are doing all right. Well, let's check the time here. It's almost 10 o'clock, so I mean, it's dark. I opened the window, so it's getting a little bit cooler. Things are doing okay. I'm staying in contact with Tiffany, Mark Roberts, and all the head honchos and things that I would need to do. My Rotary Club here is having me do short little videos and things to send to them to make sure that I'm doing okay and that I'm staying, active and doing schoolwork and not declining in my mental health and things of that nature. I'm also staying in contact with my school in the States to do some more schooling along those lines to have the necessary amount of credits to graduate, because my school in the States is focusing so much on the other seniors right now that I don't want to bother them. So I'm kind of taking it upon myself to, say, hey, I can do this and this to graduate. So I'm definitely staying busy and staying safe and wash my hands and not trying to become part of the problem.
All right. Well, always good to hear from you, Zane. Thanks for the update. And again, if you want to follow Zane on Facebook, he's got a Facebook page that is dedicated 100% to his exchange.
Yeah.
So search for, is it Zane's Year in Brazil, something like that?
Yeah, it's like Rotary Youth Exchange, like Zane's something. Like if you'll find it. Just keywords: Rotary Exchange, Zane, Brazil, incessant rambling on live streams. That'll really come up nice. So.
All right, yeah, check him out. Give him a like on Facebook, and you can learn more about what he's doing down in South America. So we are coming up on the 1 hour mark, and I don't want to keep anybody for too horribly long, but I see one person waving at me, and he was the person that I planned on unmuting next anyway, and he is past District Governor Rod Buffington. See how and Rod is talking. We don't have audio for him yet. What's going on here, Rod? Okay, now you're unmuted, Rod.
Okay, thank you. A couple updates. I don't think there's any joy in Mudville. So I think we're probably not going to have a baseball game. And more, that means that you and I need to get together here shortly and talk about how we raise money for literacy. And I have some ideas for that. So I think it will work out fine. And then Ryan, you're going to talk about the next meeting, right?
Yes, I was going to talk about
it. Is that on the 20th?
That would be on the 20th, yes.
And I want to make a comment because we have invited Mark Maloney to speak to our district. And we need every club to get as many people onto this program 2 weeks from tonight as possible. I want to see 300 to 400 people on this program when Mark speaks. He's doing this as a favor to our district. And I need you to get out there with your clubs and say, join in and listen and maybe even ask questions to the international president. Ryan, that's all.
Yes, thank you, Rod. And that is 100% true. Rod was instrumental in helping me set that up. It was his idea and he followed through with Rotary International. As a result of that, we are going to have on our next call 2 weeks from today, May 20th, Rotary International President Mark Maloney joining us. For those of you who don't know, Mark is originally a Southern Illinois native from Ridgeway, Illinois, so not quite in our district, but certainly familiar with our state and familiar with what's going on here. So this will be a great opportunity for everybody to have a little bit of a personal dialogue with the RI president. Again, that will be May 20th at 7 p.m. Central Time, and we'll be circulating more information. But for anybody who's on this call right now, certainly something that you want to share with your clubs so that we can get as many folks out to talk to Mark as we possibly can. We have from the Metro East Community Rotary Club right now our District Public Image Chair, Trent West, would like to say a little something, and Trent is, I believe, unmuted and ready to go.
Yeah, hi everybody. Thanks for joining us. It's fantastic. So I've been talking with Mark Roberts as the Public Image Committee. We gave out grant money, I think so far $7,900 of the $10,000 that we had. So we're thinking of extending deadlines for applications and reopening the application ability. At this point, there's another $2,100 that could be received for grant funds for anything to do with public image. We'll hopefully post something on the district Facebook page very soon regarding that to try and get that money out there to see if there's any other takers that want part of that. It's a really simple process to apply. We're very lenient on it because we want the money being used. We want public image being put out there, especially during this time. Mark joined us on our Zoom meeting yesterday for our club and talked a lot about, let's make sure that we're posting on Facebook page, on the district page, everything that's going on, what your clubs are doing virtually, showing that we're still active, just because most people think we're a meeting only club. We're still doing things and we're figuring out a way to connect with folks. The presentation tonight was great, so hopefully we can post some stuff about that. So if you have any other questions, public image wise, or need any help with stuff, I'm glad Mara had the background on her screen. So I went and looked on and found all the ones on Rotary.org, and I just posted those on our district page too. If you on the Facebook page, if you want to grab those off of there for the JPEG, and then update that. And as Brian Barr said, you can see his. You can put almost any image up there. So Rotary images are always great, no matter what meetings you're in. Let's try and promote as much as we can.
All right, thanks, Trent. And we've actually got a question here from Musanda in the text chat. Did the billboard on I-55 go up?
Yes, yes, it is up. I think we should have pictures of it somewhere. We'll get that up on the district Facebook page. That's one thing we're wanting to do too. We've got one final report in so far for the applications. I think there was 7 or 8 clubs that utilized the funds. We're going to try and get their information together and post where that money went, how it was used, to give others ideas, because there were some really neat ideas that people used, and we are very happy with the billboard that we have. Unfortunately, not as many people commuting right now as we would expect to drive by and see it, but I think it's going to be up for about 15 months. So we got a really good deal, and the billboard company worked with us to give us some discounts and stuff. So that's going to be really neat to have up, and something we're just going to have to do every year because it was really not that expensive once we got all the clubs together. My wife's looking at me like, no, it was expensive. In the grand scheme of things, it was not. So, yeah, it was a good question. Thank you, Ms. Sunday.
And for those who might not know the full backstory on that, several of the clubs in the Metro East area went in together using the public image grant funds that the district made available. And we've got a nice billboard up now promoting Rotary on the I-55 corridor, what is normally a pretty busy area. But we'll see if that is going to be something to maybe be repeated in future years. I'm going to go right now to somebody who's got their hand up. That is Lee Mullaney. Lee, you are live. Do you have anything to share with us?
Yeah. Hi. So, so I'm getting my cap and gown. I did my cap and gown yesterday. Yeah, you can see it.
No, your head.
Oh.
There.
Hi. Okay. So I'm still here, as you can tell, with this beautiful host family, and I'm gonna finish my classes here in the United States, and I'm very excited. Congratulations for me.
So that, for anybody who does not know, is Serena from Venezuela, who is our inbound youth exchange student still in the Springfield area. And I know that her education in the United States was very important to her, so congratulations on that graduation.
Thank you.
All right, I am not seeing anybody else with a hand up or a text message for the good of the cause, so I will ramble a little bit so that any stragglers have an opportunity to get that in. But if there is nothing else for the group, then I would like to thank everybody for joining us this evening. I was glad to have the folks from the volunteer surge here to talk with us. I think it was very informative, certainly a unique program, and hopefully you'll be able to get some good out of that. And how about that announcement from Rotary Rod Buffington? Do not forget, 2 weeks from today, 7 p.m., we will have this call. We will have Rotary International President Mark Maloney on the line, and it will be your chance to interact with him a little bit. So thank you all again for coming out, and I am going to officially adjourn this meeting of Rotary District 6460. Stay safe.